and good evening. And it's really nice to see you all here tonight. I'm really very happy to be introducing Gilles Clément this evening, because the last time he was here at the AA was, I think, in 1999. And my only real knowledge of that, because he's not quite sure, is that there is at least one student in the audience who was in second year at that time and is here tonight and has come up a long way in order to be here again. So that is great. Now, Gilles is described in many, many ways. You know him principally as a landscape architect, but he's also an agronomist, a botanist, an entomologist, a writer, a poet, a theoretician, and a teacher at the École Nationale Supérieure de Versailles. So, after all those titles, I think he prefers to be known as a global gardener. He began designing gardens in the 70s, developing his particular approach, the Jardin en Mouvement, the garden in movement, which he's going to be talking to us about tonight, in his own garden, which is in central France, known as La Vallée, a wonderful wooded valley with scrub oak and beeches, where he has allowed the plants to almost design themselves, to come into blossom, to seed, and to reappear next year, maybe in a different place. And that concept was transferred to the Parc André Citroën, which I guess is the project that you all know him best for. In Paris, it opened in 1992. It was one of Mitterrand's grand projets. And Gilles won that competition together with Alain Provost, and so they were forced into some kind of marriage and collaborated on the project. But his part, the garden in movement, is very special, albeit in one corner. And of course, he also designed the cereal gardens, which represent the transformation from lead into gold, which I'm sure a lot of you have seen it. Other major gardens which you may not know include an early one, the Abbaye de Valois, in Paris, the Arche de la Défense, the Musée Quai Branly, which he did with Jean Nouvel, and very recently, that's to say in 2005, he helped on the restoration of Lawrence Johnston's garden in France, Serre de la Madone. Now, from the early 1990s, he's also been writing a series of polemical novels and essays, which all reflect his views on globalization, on biodiversity, ways of safeguarding the maximum number of living creatures on the planet by rethinking the boundaries and conceiving the whole planet as a global garden. And from September 1999 until 2000, there was an exhibition, which some of you may have seen, I certainly did, at the Grande Halle of the Parc de la Villette, which Gilles mounted, and it was called Le Jardin Planétaire, the Global Garden. And that reflected a lot of the ideas which he's going to be talking about tonight. Last year, he mounted another exhibition in Quebec, together with our own former teacher, Philippe Ram. And that reflects some of his most recent thinking, and a book is going to be published about that exhibition in April, and Derek will have that in the library. Meanwhile, I also have some books here just to show you. Unfortunately, at the moment, they're all in French. Le Jardin Planétaire, and most recently, a monograph, Une écologie humaniste, a humanist ecology. It's my pleasure to introduce Gilles Clément.
Bonsoir. I'm very happy to be there. So long time. I will try to speak English. My English is a sort of French English, so je fais comme je peux. it's probably too difficult to explain exactly what is the Jardin Planétaire, planetary garden or global garden, as Sandra said. But you can consider that you belong to the you are the citizens of the planet, and you are probably even if you don't know, you are probably the gardeners of this planet, because everything you do has a consequence in the environment. And for me, what is important in my job is not not the design. It is not the functional part of the public space or the formal system, but probably the life. I means what is the thing which is more precious and unpredictable. Just before showing pictures, sorry, I use slides, which is a very archaic system, but useful. I want to give you some definitions. On dit ça, définition? Oui? For the words landscape, environment, and garden. Sandra say I'm landscape architect. I just say I'm gardener, of course, but in France we don't have any landscape architect because the architects don't like that the gardeners use the term of architect. I'm okay with that because I think that we are completely in the complementaire, in the complementary position, and we can speak about the life, and the architect can speak about something else, and together we make something like a dialogue. But landscape is something, the word landscape is very special and very quite impossible to give it a good definition. I just said the landscape is what you have under your glance, le regard. That's all. So everything can be a landscape. And it is a very subjective thing. For instance, if we compare the vision of an English looking at a field with a very green grass and the green trees around, and the vision of New Guinean, for instance, a Papou, and it's looking at the same thing. The English say it is a lawn with a nice place, like a playground with trees. Okay, it's green, and the others say it is quite bitter, like l'amertume, amer. You know what is bitter, but it is completely different. Two different cultures. They see the same landscape. So the landscape is something very subjective. Environment is completely different, the opposite. You can explain the landscape with the vocabulary of the environment, and in every part of the word, everybody understands what happened. It is an objective system to describe what happened. But of course, it is not affective and there is no emotion in the environment. The garden is made of both landscape and environment, both the system, the emotional perception, and the scientific composite inside. But the garden is something very particular. It is an enclosure. This is the definition. Garden come from a Germanic garten, and that means l'enclos, the enclosure. And inside, you protect what is the better, the best of the life, the best of the vegetables, the best of the trees and fruits and flowers, etc. But the best of the way of life. So, what are we protecting today? What is the best? And I say that all along the story, the garden is the unique situation where la rencontre, the meeting between nature and people is authorized with a dream. It's a place for utopy. You don't have any other place mixing nature and l'homme et la nature pour développer, sorry, I suppose you understand, a sort of utopy. What is the utopy today? What is the good utopy? It's probably it's probably something linked to the ecology. And for me, it has been this for a long time, from the beginning when I was starting in my job. So the diversity is a very interesting point. It is the material you can have many surprise in the garden with the diversity. And it is the genetic pool of the invention of the life. If you have only one species in your garden, the chance to have something, some being new is quite, there is no chance. So in my own garden, I try to manage it with the idea to obtain the biggest diversity, even in plants and animals. All the animals are very, very important also for me. But the diversity is not only the collection of the species. It is also a difference of behavior. The behavior is something very interesting. Very often, if you compare the different individuals in the same species, you have different behaviors. This is also a kind of diversity. And the last thing I am sure it's important for me is the brassage. Please, Sandra. Brassage. Intermingling. Intermingling. I say that in the word, because I travel a lot, and I saw that a lot of different species coming from Europe, living in Australia, coming from Chile, in America, etc. It's like inside a washing machine. So this is the intermingling. So a garden is, of course, the place where the intermingling has been here for a long time. Toujours. So I am not really, even if ecology is the way, my way, I am not a deep ecologist, you understand. So I want to show some pictures to explain some things. You can light off, put the light off, please.